Welcome back to part 3 of our interview with Alan Stein Jr., where he tells us what the platinum rule is, treating others how they want to be treated, in addition to why choosing to be happy happens before success, not after. Don't go anywhere. Part 3 is coming at you.
Welcome to this edition of Peak Performance Podcast with your host, Thor Conklin. Thor will be sharing the necessary tools, strategies, and psychology you'll need to become a peak performer in any area of your life or business.
Thor Conklin here. We give you the tricks, the tips, the tools, the strategy, the technology, and the psychology peak performers use in order to get more done and execute at the highest level. If you know what to do but struggle with getting it all done, or simply want to raise your game to the next level, this podcast is for you. Sit back and enjoy. Now, let's talk a little bit about achievement, success, and happiness. They don't all come together in a nice little bundle. Tell me some of your thoughts on those three.
I believe happiness actually needs to come first. Happiness and fulfillment comes first. Most people have this mindset that I'll be happy when ... I'll be happy when I meet the love of my life. I'll be happy when my business is successful. I'll be happy when I get that new sports car, that new house. And I don't believe it works that way. I think you need to make the choice and the decision to be happy and fulfilled. That is a mindset. And once you've done that, now you've positioned yourself to go out and be as productive and as efficient and as effective as you can. I believe everyone's achievement, performance, and success would drastically increase if they were truly happy and fulfilled. And I find, again, people undermine that by thinking they're going to find happiness and fulfillment somewhere else. So first, you need to be at peace with yourself, which requires self-awareness. It requires a lot of self-work. But be happy with who you are, what you stand for, what you're pouring your time into, and then you can build everything else on top of that. And with that, people like to compartmentalize work and the rest of their life, and professional and personal, and I don't believe it's that easy. I mean, we are who we are, and these things all bleed together. And perfect example is when things are going well at home, you tend to do better at work, and vice versa. However, and anyone knows this who's gone through some struggles in a relationship or with children or so forth, when the things going on in your home life are weighing you down and are challenging, it makes it harder to perform at work. So these things are highly interconnected and jointed, and it's important that we embrace that. So I do think the first key is finding what it takes to make you happy. And happy, and we're talking about on a deeper level. We're not talking about short-term pleasure. I'm not talking about eating a chocolate chip cookie. I'm talking about doing something that truly fills your bucket as a human being and makes you want to be the best version of yourself. And when you do that, every area of your life will increase proportionately.
What's some of the best advice you've ever been given?
Best advice I've ever been given. Well, what's interesting? Everyone always talks about the golden rule, which is treat others the way that you'd want to be treated. But I actually think, and some of this is surfaced in some different areas, so I'm certainly not trying to take credit for them. Some people now call it the platinum rule, which is treat others the way they want to be treated. And I think that's a very interesting shift because it's so important. We're all different, and we're wired different, and we handle feedback different. We like to be held accountable in different ways. So I think it's important in relationships to really get to know the other person and figure out how they like to be treated in certain situations. I come from a sports background my entire life. So I've been coached really hard for most of my life. And I have a very thick skin. I'm okay when people raise their voice at me or curse at me or hold me to an extremely high level of accountability in front of my peers. I'm okay with that. Well, I've come across plenty of people who aren't. So if I treated everyone the way that I'm capable of being treated, I would turn a lot of people off, or I would not, as a leader, be able to get them to perform as high a level as they're capable of, because I'm not treating them the way that they want to be treated. So that's one that I think is extremely important. And it's, to me, it's just another iteration of the golden rule. I'm not questioning the golden rule or trying to undermine it. I just think it takes it a step further when you can customize something even better to the person that you're dealing with.
Who's the best basketball owner in the NBA?
Well, I mean, I'm partial just on personal relationships. I mean, now that I've met Jesse Itzler, and I know that Jesse has a team of folks that actually own the Atlanta Hawks. He's not the sole owner. But I love Jesse because he's extremely innovative. He's constantly thinking outside of the norms. I mean, when you take that, a lot of NBA owners have been NBA owners for a long, long time. They tend to fall in a rut and do things the way they've always been done. And a guy like Jesse has such a fresh perspective to go in and try and shake things up. I've also had a chance on a couple of occasions to spend time with Mark Cuban. I'm a huge Mark Cuban fan and follow and read a lot of what he does. And I know he's extremely abrasive at times and somewhat controversial, but he's another guy that I really admire because of how innovative he is. And the moment he got in the league, I mean, he started making changes that he knew would work. And, you know, I've read stories and even talked to him personally about the fact that when he took over the Mavs, they were the worst team in the NBA. And the first thing that he did was he put his desk right in the middle of the bullpen of everyone that does ticket sales, because he wanted everyone on the business and admin side to see that he was there every single day, right in the thick of it. He was going to be making calls. He was going to be doing everything that he expected of them. And the very first thing he did with the players, even though they were awful, was he upgraded all of their amenities. I mean, he upgraded their locker room. He had them travel better. He did everything because he said, look, if we want these guys to be champions, we need to start treating them like champions first, not the other way around. We're not going to just sit here and wait until they win a championship and then start treating them better. We're going to do it now. And I believe the message that he sent to the players that I know we're not winning, but I value you and I'm going to treat you like a champion and you're going to become a champion. And then conversely, going over on the business side and saying, you know, if you guys are going to be making 50 calls a day to sell tickets, I'm going to make 60. I'm going to outwork everybody here. And those types of things. I mean, I just have so much admiration and respect for somebody that leads that way. Again, you're talking about somebody that was worth a couple $1 billion. You know, he paid a few $100 million to buy the Mavs. He didn't need to do any of that stuff. He did it because that's the way he's wired and that's what he believes.
Yeah, I think you always have to get in the middle of it and show the team what you're willing to do in order to push this forward. I remember it was 4th of July, and nobody on my team wanted to go and do an installation at a client's place first thing in the morning on literally 4th of July. And I said, okay, I'm not losing this sale. I'm doing it. And I remember for 5-6 hours, I'm on my back on a dirty nail salon floor installing equipment because I was not going to lose that sale. It was going to happen. That was the only time they had the availability to do it. And there was a different look on July 5th when we went back to work because it was like, you know what? Thor is willing to do whatever it takes in order to make this company successful.
Yeah, because you know as a leader, it's not what you say, it's what you do. That will always be so much more impactful. And you being that committed to making that move and leading by example, yeah, I'm sure sent ripples and waves through everybody else. And that's really important because as a leader, if your beliefs and your behaviors aren't congruent, if you were there telling other people that they needed to be there on July 4th to do that, but you weren't willing to do it, it would undermine your credibility as a leader. So I love the fact that, you're not just going to talk the talk. You're going to walk the walk. And, I've been a quote nerd my entire life. I love quotes. And one of my favorite quotes of all time is, do the things others don't do, and you'll have the things others don't have. And I love that quote because you can also substitute the word won't instead of don't. Do the things others won't do, and you'll have the things others won't have. And whether we're talking about the business that you've built, or Mark Cuban, or Jesse Itzler, or Sarah Blakely, you can count just so many times where they've done things that other people weren't willing to do, and now they have things that other people simply don't have.
Absolutely. Saying yes to things and saying no to things so often determines our success. And as leaders, we need to turn down more things than most people do. The people that are not as successful say yes to everything. Yes, I'll do that. Yes, I'll go to that birthday party. Yes, I'll do this. How do you determine what to say yes to and what to say no to?
Oh, I love that you brought that up. Over time, I believe you'll strengthen your filter in which you run those things through, and really it'll come back to your values, your beliefs, your philosophies, your standards, because if you live by that code, it will help you determine what things to say yes and no to. I mean, if you have your priorities in order and you know what's important, it makes those decisions easier. I will say quite candidly, that's something that I've struggled with most of my life. And this can go back to childhood. I've always been a people pleaser. I've always, for some reason, felt some guilt when I'm telling people no. Now, thankfully, it's a muscle that I've strengthened over the last couple of years. I've become better at it because it finally dawned on me that when I say yes to something or someone, I'm technically saying no to something or something else. That if I say, yes, I'll go to this event, then I might be saying no to spending time with my children, or I might be saying no to doing a speaking event. I might be saying no to something else. So once I've learned to kind of reprioritize what's important to me, and I have my values in place, it makes that very easy. And, so I'm able to say no much more often now, but I do so in a way that's still professional and polite and respectful. But it comes down to guarding my time. As we talked a lot about at that retreat, time is our most precious resource, and it's because it's the only one that can't be replenished. We can all make more money, but none of us can get time back. So every time you say yes to something, you're going to give someone else or something else a deposit of your time, and it better be worth it. So I've learned, and only through practice, and it still makes me uncomfortable, but I'm getting better at it. I've learned to say no to so many more things now. And the only thing that gives me some solace in doing that is the moment I say no to that, I remind myself of what I'm saying yes to. Because like I said, it's the law of polarity. Every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. Instead of just sitting in that end of no, no, I said no to this, I remind myself, why did I say no? Oh, that's right, because I need to say yes to this thing that's the inverse, and that's helped me deal with it. But you're 100% right. The Mark Cuban, Jesse Itzlers, and Sarah Blakely's and Thor Conklins are successful because they've learned how to protect their time and say no to the things that are not going to move them forward to where they need to be and where they want to be.
Yeah, and something that I've implemented as well is telling the truth with regards to that answer. And what I mean by that is, and I still catch myself once in a while, someone will say, hey, would you like to go do, so-and-so? I said, yeah, I'd like to do that. However, I'm not going to. It's not I can't, because I actually could, but I'll say I choose not to because I have other things that are a priority. And it's funny, once you start doing that and you become congruent with your answers, because that's really what it is in most cases. You could do it. You're choosing not to do it. There's a different reaction I find in your body when you actually start to own it. Now, the people that you're talking to sometimes look at you kind of strange because like, that's kind of harsh. It's like you could do it, but you're not going to do it. I'm not that important. So you've got to be very strong in your position. But I find when you're telling the truth and just saying, I've got other things that I need to address. There's other things that I need to do. And unfortunately, I will not be able to do that.
Yeah. One thing that I've used in that is basically something to the effect of, my schedule and my plate is full right now. I don't have the bandwidth to take anything else on. I sincerely appreciate your offer, appreciate the invite, but it's just not something that I'm able to do at present. I absolutely wish you the best. And I've found that that's straight, that's direct, that's honest, and it's courteous. So I'm not necessarily poo-pooing on somebody's idea, their invite. I'm just letting them know that I can't take any more on. And it's very rare does anybody ask for any more of an explanation than that, because they're certainly not entitled to one. But that's one that's kind of helped me. And it's the truth. I mean, if you spread yourself thin, it'll absolutely wear you out. And I just can't stress enough that anytime you say yes to one thing, you are technically saying no to something else.
Absolutely. Well, I really appreciate you coming on tonight. And would you let the audience know how they can get in touch with you?
Absolutely. No, the pleasure's mine. AlanSteinJr.com and at Alan Stein Jr. on all major social handles. I really enjoy social media. I think it's a tremendous medium to learn, to share, and to interact with people. And it's neat. I mean, Thor, you being one of them, but there's probably at least a dozen other folks from that retreat that I talk to in some way, shape, or form, almost on a daily basis, even if it's just a quick comment on a Facebook post or a quick hello via Twitter or even text message. It's really neat, the bonds that we were able to make. But I'm relentless in getting back to folks. So if anybody drops me an email at alansteinjr.com, you'll definitely hear back from me. And certainly a pleasure, man. I really appreciate talking to you, and this was a lot of fun.
Terrific. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for listening today. I really do appreciate your time. and I hope you found today's show valuable. If you would like to receive these shows automatically to your phone or to your computer, simply go to iTunes and subscribe. After listening to several of the shows, if you're so inclined, please leave us a 5-star rating, as this helps us reach additional people and spread the message. If you're truly committed to taking your life to the next level and doing whatever it takes to become a peak performer, but something's holding you back, something is blocking your way, and you just can't seem to figure out what it is, send me an email to info@thorconklin.com, and I'd be more than happy to get on the phone with you. We'll schedule a 15-minute discovery call. No obligation, no cost. I absolutely love to hear from the listeners, and if there's something I can do to help, I'd be more than happy to do that. Also, if you found something of great interest in today's show and you want to share that with your friends and family, simply go to my Facebook page, Thor Conklin, click on the episode, hit the share button, and share it on your page. You can follow me at Twitter at Thor Conklin. The website is thorconklin.com. We're constantly adding new free resources, discussing additional tricks, tips, tools, and strategies on how to be a peak performer. Remember, I try to keep these episodes short so you can listen to them during dot time, doing other things, commuting, driving, walking, working out. Decide to be a peak performer in all that you do. And until tomorrow, have an absolutely amazing day.